Good afternoon, and welcome to Quarry Park and the community of El Granada here on the San Mateo coast. My name is Nate Armstrong, and I have the honor of serving as the unit chief for the CAL FIRE San Mateo Santa Cruz unit. Through a cooperative agreement, I also have the privilege of serving as the fire chief for the Coastside Fire Protection District, which serves the community we're standing in today. While you will be hearing from some local and statewide partners, there are some others that will not be speaking today, but whose support and collaboration have made our overall prevention and preparedness continuously ongoing. I'd like to extend a thanks to 3rd District Supervisor Ray Mueller, the Coastside Fire Protection District Board President Gary Burke, and the San Mateo County Resource Conservation District's Executive Director Kellix Nelson. CAL FIRE is often looked to as a leader in fuel reduction, fire prevention, and of course fire suppression. But the pace and scale of fire prevention efforts needed to protect all of California is truly a shared responsibility. And I can say that at least at the local level, there is not a single department, agency, or group that can do it all alone. This extends to the individual property owner. I encourage all members of our community to become partners in fire prevention. Going to readyforwildfire.org is a great first step at guiding an individual property owner through creating defensible space and hardening their home to prepare for when a wildfire does occur. Many of our community partners have taken their defensible space beyond their own property and have encouraged their neighbors or adjoining neighborhoods to become a FireWise community. To date, there are nearly 800 FireWise communities throughout California. Just to the south of us in Santa Cruz County alone, they're on the precipice of having their 60th FireWise community approved. These are true grassroots efforts led by conscientious and forward-thinking neighbors and community leaders. I also ask that Californians remain vigilant. While the past 2 years may not have seen the same number of devastating fires as 2020 or even 2021, the heavy winter storms that we have experienced have created different challenges in the fuel reduction realm. From significant vegetative growth in previously burned through areas to large accumulations of dead blowdown material as a result of these winter storms. These slightly moderated years have also created opportunities for CAL FIRE to increase fuel reduction efforts, particularly with prescribed fire, during periods of the year where we have historically been battling major wildfires. In 2023, multiple CAL FIRE units, including right here in San Mateo County, took advantage of favorable weather to conduct prescribed fire operations in the late summer and early fall months, when many of our local resources are historically out of the area fighting major wildfires. These efforts wouldn't have been possible without local landowners that participate in our vegetation management and vegetation treatment programs. They also wouldn't have been possible without the relationships that we have with partners like California State Parks. In 2023, we were able to successfully treat nearly 1,000 acres of land between Santa Cruz and San Mateo counties with prescribed fire. This is 7 to 8 times what we've normally been able to accomplish in a given year, and we hope to continue that trend both locally and statewide as we focus on larger landscape level projects moving into the future. Before moving on to our other speakers, I just want to take a moment and explain the site that we chose for today's event. In 2019, Governor Newsom issued an executive order for CAL FIRE to identify 35 high-priority fuel reduction projects throughout the state, that resources could quickly deploy to with a streamlined permitting process and dedicated one-time funding. San Mateo County was host to 2 of those projects, with one of them being right here in Quarry Park. Over $250,000 in contract work was completed here in Quarry Park to clear the understory, reducing the overall fire risk, and reestablishing important emergency response and egress routes. Since that time, CAL FIRE has continued to partner with the Coastside Fire Protection District, San Mateo County Parks, and the Resource Conservation District through other CAL FIRE grant programs to continue that work of eliminating dead and down fuel. The 3 air curtain burners that are operating here today are owned by CAL FIRE but currently being operated by San Mateo County Parks to dispose of dead trees that have fallen over the last couple of winters. Over the last 3 years, these 3 curtain burners have logged over 2,000 hours of operation throughout Santa Cruz and San Mateo counties, cleanly disposing of over 12,000 tons of dead and woody debris. In the last week alone, nearly 40 tons of dead eucalyptus logs have been disposed of just on this site. As we move forward into the peak of the 2024 fire year, I simply want to reiterate that fire prevention is a shared responsibility, and we all need to do our part down to the individual landowner. We are stronger and better prepared together than any of us can be on our own. So please do your part to both prevent wildfires, but also to prepare your family for when a fire does occur in your community. Thank you for doing your part to help CAL FIRE meet our mission through partnership. And with that, I would like to introduce the Director of CAL FIRE, Chief Joe Tyler.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joe Tyler. I'm the Director and Fire Chief at CAL FIRE. I want to take an opportunity and thank the community of El Granada and the County of San Mateo for hosting us here today at Corey Park and its Fuels Reduction Project. What a great opportunity of partnerships coming together to be able to reduce the hazardous fuels and increase the fire prevention efforts across the state. We'll continue to stress the importance of partnerships as a shared responsibility to make California more fire resilient. This week's message is meeting the mission through partnerships, and it's those partnerships that are inclusive of local, state, federal, tribal nations, nonprofits, innovators that really bring it all together. It is FireWise communities, it's Fire Safe councils, and it's you, the public, as a partner that is going to make California and your community more resilient. I want to thank the women and men who are standing behind me today because they are the ones who are doing the work. They are the ones in the organization doing the work to assist you in those fire prevention efforts. I get the joy of being able to talk about those efforts. And today I'm standing with some of the many partners from San Mateo County officials, San Mateo County Parks, the United States Forest Service, Cal OES, California Conservation Corps, California Highway Patrol, and the California Military Department, just to name a few. Firefighting alone is not enough to keep us safe. Californians play a crucial role in fire prevention, and that's what we'll talk about today. We recognize that while there have been heavy snow and rains, that California is susceptible to wildfire, and wildfire will return to your community at some point. And it is the prevention efforts that are going to mitigate the effects of that wildfire. Now, we have received some reprieve from recent droughts, but the threat still exists. Over 194,000 calls for service have been responded to by CAL FIRE alone, not including our local or federal partners so far in 2024. 576 wildfires have occurred in California, burning over 2,500 acres just since the beginning of 2024. And while it might seem wet across the state, 105 of those fires occurred in the last week alone. And it's the unprecedented action that we see here at Corey Park and across the state that will enhance community resilience. And it's our historic investments and the investments that will continue in forest management and state-of-the-art apparatus, equipment, and personnel. The state has invested over $1 billion in grant funding in forest health and wildfire prevention just in the last few years. And the administration has invested over $2.8 billion in fire prevention and forest health initiatives. There's been a reduction in the acres burned last year compared to previous years, and there's been a 93% reduction in the number of structures destroyed just in the last couple of years as well. But I don't want that to fool anyone. The fire interval will return, and we need to make it more resilient, need to make ourselves more resilient together. Now, we utilize technology. We're advancing technology to do our jobs. They play a bigger role in wildfire prevention, detection, and reporting every year. As an example, CAL FIRE has a relationship with Alert California out of UC San Diego. There are over 1,065 cameras on mountaintops across California, with 163 that are still to come in 2024. And by utilizing artificial intelligence, those cameras are now able to report anomalies and new smokes from fires sometimes before the first 911 caller. In fact, there's been several, well over 100, that have reported first reports prior to the first 911 caller. In at least 2 instances, resources were arriving at the scene of an emergency before the first 911 caller made that report. Now, not sitting here today, but we've talked about it for several years, is adding former U.S. Coast Guard C-130 aircraft to our aerial firefighting fleet under CAL FIRE's name. In December, the National Defense Authorization Act transferred title of those 7 C-130s to CAL FIRE. It is our intent to fly the first C-130 in the 2024 fire year. We will fly the remainder of them within the 2025 fire year. We also invested in the Firehawk or Black Hawk helicopters like the one that is sitting behind me. Initially, we purchased 12 to be staffed at 10 of our helitack bases across the state. We purchased 4 more to add for surge capacity, and 13 of the 16 are here today. Utilizing technology and experience from our local partners across the state, we will be flying 5 of those helicopters 24 hours a day. All 10 of those helicopters will be capable of flying 24 hours a day. It is a great investment in night vision goggles and training our personnel to be able to provide that service to you. In addition to that, we will hire 24 exclusive use aircraft across the state this year, and 5 of those exclusive use aircraft will also be able to fly at night. Statewide, there's been over $1 billion invested, as I said earlier, invested in forest health and prevention just in the last 5 years. Over 730 fuels reduction projects are in place, and consistently with our partners and grantees, we're achieving well over 100,000 acres of fuels reduction every year. Forest management projects have been proven to slow or turn an advancing wildfire. We recognize in 2020 here in San Mateo County and as part of Santa Cruz County, the 86,000 plus acres burned in the CZU Lightning Complex. And over $12 million in forest health has gone into San Mateo County alone for wildfire and forest health prevention grants. And we're building a relationship with our tribal nations and our tribal partners to learn from their traditional ecological knowledge, to learn about cultural burning practices, to expand our own knowledge and education. And for the first time here just recently, CAL FIRE has hired a Deputy Director of Tribal Affairs, Helen Lopez, to assist in navigating and building relationships with our tribal nations. We've invested over $19 million in tribal resilience grants to assist since August of 23 in providing prevention opportunities to our tribal nations. But returning to the public, returning to partnerships, it is you, the citizens of California, that are a critical partner in the ongoing fight to reduce wildfires through prevention and resilience. So how can you help? You can contribute to your neighborhood safety. You can join a fire safe council and adopt FireWise communities across the state to enable communities to assess and prioritize wildfire risks. I would ask you to help your elderly neighbors or those who cannot do fuels reduction on their own, or make their homes more hardened in the event of a wildfire. I would impress upon everybody to embrace defensible space around your homes. Help your firefighters and your law enforcement officers protect you in the need for evacuation and or defending your home. You can harden your home with available low-cost retrofits. I ask that you listen to the guidance of our law enforcement officers at the local and state level. And I ask that you follow CAL FIRE on our social media platforms. You can watch for near-time, real fire updates, provide and receive fire information, find grant opportunities, all by going to our website at www.fire.ca.gov or going to our fire marshal website at osfm.fire.ca.gov. And finally, to prepare yourself for wildfire, go to readyforwildfire.org. Now I want to take an opportunity to invite up Nicholas Calderon, our San Mateo County Parks Director.
Good afternoon. My name is Nicholas Calderon, and I'm the Director of the San Mateo County Parks Department. The San Mateo County Parks system is comprised of 24 parks and over 16,000 acres of land, much of which is adjacent to and within residential communities. Consequently, we take seriously our obligation to provide the public with not just safe and accessible recreational opportunities, but also reducing the threat of wildfire to our neighboring communities. Prior to the last decade, we subscribed to an industry common, cautious approach to land stewardship, and this included limited reduction of fire fuels. However, in 2019, as a result of the wildfires that have been occurring throughout the state of California, the Parks Department increased its efforts to reduce fire fuels and make its parklands more resilient to changing climate and conditions. With the help of partners like CAL FIRE and the San Mateo Resource Conservation District, and with funding from the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors and the state of California, the San Mateo County Parks Department treated over 700 acres of land in its system. Many of the acres that have been treated were overly dense with non-native and invasive species that were not only presenting a threat to public safety, but adversely impacting local ecosystems. Though we have been focusing on improving public safety, we have never lost sight of our responsibility to protect the environment and preserve and enhance local ecosystems. But we cannot stop after the initial treatment. We must maintain these project areas in perpetuity to ensure that fuel breaks and shaded fuel breaks remain effective and local ecosystems remain protected. When factoring in the amount of maintenance we have conducted, the department has treated the equivalent of over 1,600 acres of land, and we intend to conduct significant more maintenance this year. Much of our focus has been on creating fuel breaks along park boundaries with residential neighborhoods and enhancing shaded fuel breaks along fire roads to improve evacuation and agency response capabilities. We've accomplished this by thinning understory vegetation and removing dead and dying trees. We've also removed large hazard trees that could hinder evacuation and response capabilities. Nowhere is this more evident than here at Quarry Park, where in partnership with CAL FIRE and the San Mateo RCD, we treated nearly 200 acres of eucalyptus forest. Through our efforts, fuels have been reduced along the southern boundary with El Granada and Miramar, and first responder access to the interior of the park has been enhanced by expanding shaded fuel breaks along numerous fire roads. We've also observed through our monitoring that native species are flourishing, which is beneficial for our local wildlife. I'm proud of the accomplishments that we've made in mitigating the threat of wildfire to neighboring communities throughout our county, but we still have much work to do. In closing, I'd like to offer three thanks. First, I'd like to thank the staff from the Parks Department. Without their tireless commitment to our parks and serving the public, these projects would not be possible. Second, I'd like to thank CAL FIRE and the San Mateo RCD. Our three agencies collaborate seamlessly, and our shared vision of a safer, healthier, and more resilient landscape has driven many of these projects. And finally, I'd like to thank the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors for appropriating Measure K funds for fuel reduction work in our park system, and to the state of California for awarding millions of dollars so these projects can occur. So with that said, I'd like to introduce Jaime Gamboa from the U.S. Forest Service.
So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jaime Gamboa. I'm the Director for Fire and Aviation Management with the U.S. Forest Service Pacific Southwest Region. I'm honored to be here today on behalf of the USDA Forest Service to celebrate the 2024 Wildfire Preparedness Week with our partners. I want to begin by thanking all of our partners who work with us throughout the year in wildfire prevention, preparedness, and response. No one agency can do this alone. We're all in it together, and we are all working toward common goals. You hear us say this every year because it's how we must and want to operate. And I want to especially thank all of our firefighters who are on the front lines for the sacrifices they make in committing a good part of the year away from their families fighting fire. So let's talk about preparedness, being proactive instead of reactive. We're focusing on reducing fuels and restoring forest health at a greater scale and faster pace than ever before. We're getting this work done under the Forest Service's Wildfire Crisis Strategy, under which California has received over $1 billion over the past couple of years, and under the Governor's Wildfire Task Force. In February of this year, the Forest Service launched a collaborative wildfire risk reduction program to further enhance work associated with the WCS and promote new partnerships. This means an additional $100 million investment to support wildfire risk reduction projects across all national forest lands. Last year, with wildfires generally moderate by late precipitation, we were able to take advantage of favorable conditions to complete approximately 328,000 acres of hazardous fuels reduction, and this year we're already on the path of increasing those acres. This fuels reduction work under the WCS is being planned and implemented in partnership with neighboring local, tribal, state, and other federal agencies. We work with these partners to prioritize hazardous fuels, reducing fuels reduction around communities and other infrastructure across the state. We continue to support our local tribe partners with funding through California Wildfire Defense Grants, giving millions of dollars in support in the development and implementation of community wildfire protection plans across the state and in Hawaii, where wildfire preparedness and community protection are on the forefront of everyone's minds after the heartbreaking events of last year. We continue to work with our interagency partners and our stakeholders in the private industry to improve our ability to respond together. Wildfires don't stop at the boundaries of national forests, neither should our fuel breaks. Last year, we signed an agreement with the National Alliance of Forest Owners to increase our capability to fight wildfires in areas of adjacent ownership with National Forest System lands during initial attack. This year, the Forest Service signed a memorandum of understanding to improve coordination with the National Alliance of Forest Owners on cross-boundary field breaks. As we look ahead, for much of California, 2024 has been another above-average precipitation year, but we won't get complacent. Fire leaders in the field are meeting with local partners in CAL FIRE and other federal and state agencies to prepare for wildfire response. Our firefighters continue to be brought in and trained along with our seasoned firefighting workforce. In a big celebration here recently, we announced the completion of work on Phase 1 of the Reading Air Attack tanker base, making improvements that will ultimately double our previous capacity for loading retardant by allowing us to load 5 aircraft simultaneously. This $28 million project will suppress efforts across the western United States. And this is just the beginning. Further phases of the project will continue replacing the original hangar and co-locating all partners into one state-of-the-art facility. We're also continuing to work closely with our tribal partners to help restore cultural burning practices on ancestral lands. Last and maybe most importantly, we're celebrating Smokey Bear's 80th birthday this year. For 80 years, Smokey Bear has been a treasure symbol for preventing unwanted fire across America by teaching kids not to play with matches and adults to use caution when towing or mowing. Smokey's message is just as relevant and urgent today as it was then. Even now, over 85% of fires in California are started by people, often during the hottest, driest parts of the year when they are most difficult to control. Working together, we can prevent and be prepared for wildfires. I would like to introduce Mark Corson, Assistant Chief with Cal OES.
Right. Thank you to our colleagues at CAL FIRE for hosting us here today. My name is Mark Corson. I'm Fire Assistant Chief with the California Governor's Office of Emergency Services. As another wildfire season approaches us, we're proud to stand with our partners who are vital to our efforts to keep California communities safe. In early 2024, our state experienced another round of heavy rain, snowfall, and severe flooding, leading to 2 federally declared disasters. We also know that despite that rainfall and snow from these storms, we must be prepared for wildfire. That's why our partnerships with local, state, federal, and tribal counterparts are so important in advance of the fire season. Through the California Fire and Rescue Mutual Aid System, we deploy a fleet of more than 270 fire engines wherever they are needed across the state. The Cal OES Law Branch works with local government partners to ensure Californians are safely evacuated. As we recognize Wildfire Preparedness Week, it's an important reminder for all Californians to make plans before an emergency occurs. Sign up with your local alerts through your county. Make a plan to protect your loved ones. Pack a go bag with essential items for you, your family, and don't forget your pets. Learn multiple routes out of your neighborhood and always heed the warnings of officials if told to evacuate. Cal OES will continue to work with our local, state, federal, and tribal partners to ensure Californians stay safe during another fire season. Thank you, and I'd like to introduce next Brigadier General Robert Paletti.
Good afternoon. You're probably wondering why you got a soldier here talking about fires. Well, the California Military Department does a lot in partnership with CAL FIRE and U.S. Forest Service to work and prevent wildfires. Starting with our Fire Guard program that uses real live geospatial data to identify fire starts at their earliest point of spark. We can then notify U.S. Forest Service, local jurisdictions, and CAL FIRE so they can respond at the earliest moment. Our Task Force Rattlesnake is a almost 500 per soldier and airman full-time force that is trained as a Type 1 fire crew and works under the tactical control of CAL FIRE, which does, in the off-season, does fuels mitigation, but augments CAL FIRE with 14 Type 1 hand crews. In the time of response, the California National Guard can be accessed through the Governor's Office of Emergency Service and provide a myriad of response assets from Type 2 hand crews, which we stand up and get trained by CAL FIRE, to military police, incident awareness and assessment, engineering, chemical, biological identification and decontamination. We have a ton of assets that can be there for Californians when in their time of need. I am very proud to say that the citizen soldiers and airmen of the California National Guard live up to the slogan every day, always ready, always there. And I will be followed by J.P. Patton, Director, California Conservation Corps.
Good afternoon. We are well aware that with the accelerating effects of climate change, the western states, including California, are in for a summer that may be hotter, drier, and potentially more prone to wildfires than many of us have experienced before. And it is critical that we continuously prepare for these conditions. And one of the most effective tactics to combat wildfires is the direct on-the-ground action. And this is where the California Conservation Corps shines. No doubt, aerial resources like planes, helicopters, and large ground assets like dozers are awesome and play a crucial role in controlling wildfires. The groundwork done by hand crews is equally vital. Our crews tirelessly dig, breaks, and lay water lines in areas that machinery can't access. And so I'm proud to highlight the dedication of the young adults in the California Conservation Corps, many of whom are facing their first wildfire season ever. Yet their enthusiasm, their instinct to serve, and commitment to protect our communities are profound. Young adult Californians, from college grads to some still needing to finish high school, enroll in the CCC for a paid year of training and service, using this time as a stepping stone to frontline firefighting careers. Right now, more than 400 CCC Corps members are completing their basic training, ready to answer the call and to respond to wildfires. And I couldn't be more proud to share that the CCC is witnessing a remarkable increase in female recruits, all demonstrating their ability to excel in the fire services. Now, you can find these dedicated individuals across California, with 28 CCC fire crews operating out of 14 campuses in close collaboration with CAL FIRE. One CCC crew based 9 minutes down the road from here at our CCC Center in Watsonville. I'm joined with those folks today. Remember that today's Corps members are tomorrow's California firefighters. In fact, over the past 3 years, more than 500 Corps members were hired by CAL FIRE and launched their wildland firefighting careers. 500 and counting. The work done by these crews supports other key pillars of Governor Gavin Newsom's California climate commitments. When not engaged in direct firefighting, our crews are on the front line restoring forests, reducing the amount of fire fuels, and increasing defensible space. This intensive work prepares young Corps members for the physical and mental rigors of firefighting and is pivotal in meeting the state's historic climate targets. So putting it all together, our partnership with CAL FIRE is positioning the state of California to be even more vigilant in protecting our natural resources, our forests, and our communities, while at the same time developing meaningful futures for young Californians. No matter the challenges the season may present, the CCC fire crews will be ready to respond. Thank you, and please stay safe this season. And with that, I'd like to introduce Assistant Chief Jeremy Linson with the California Highway Patrol.
Good afternoon. I'd like to extend my gratitude to our public safety partners at CAL FIRE for inviting the California Highway Patrol to participate in today's Wildfire Preparedness Week press conference. The CHP furthers our commitment to the communities we serve by partnering with CAL FIRE as members of the incident management team. Since 2014, we have committed to this team partnership by embedding law enforcement liaison officers with each of the 6 incident management teams across the state. This shared vision with CAL FIRE has resulted in improved operational efficiency and effective communication with stakeholders and allied agencies to effectively mitigate these disasters. Today's event exemplifies the collaboration of public safety officials striving toward a common goal: safeguarding life and property throughout California. Public safety stands as the CHP's foremost priority. Rest assured, every decision made by our officers in the field aims to ensure your safety and prompt return home. Our training equips us to manage such emergencies, urging the public to remain calm and be mindful of emergency personnel's instructions. During wildfires, CHP officers will aid in evacuations, oversee road closures, manage traffic, patrol affected zones, and assist with securing evacuated properties. Following the guidance of CHP personnel on site is critical. They will designate evacuation areas and routes based on factors such as fire location, behavior, wind patterns, terrain, and other variables. Wildfires are unpredictable and can move quickly. When evacuation becomes necessary, having a plan in place for your family and pets is vital. Familiarize yourself with evacuation routes and accessible roads and establish a meeting point for your family. These are key steps in preparedness. In the face of imminent wildfire danger, don't wait for an evacuation order. If you sense peril, evacuate immediately. Early departure eases traffic congestion, affording more time to reach your destination safely. As evacuation orders begin to lift in certain areas, stay vigilant for updates from local authorities. We understand you're eager to return home. Adhere to clearance directives and exercise caution while driving. There may still be an emergency crews working and road restrictions in place. While the hope is that we do not have to face the threat of wildfire, preparedness remains our strongest defense for ensuring the safety of you and your loved ones. Thank you. Next, I'd like to turn this over to Isaac Sanchez for Q&A.
This concludes our scheduled speakers' presentations. So we'd like to take this opportunity to open it up to any media that have arrived today to ask any questions. All righty. No questions. Thank you very much for showing up. So I would like to take this opportunity to remind the public that for information on any new or ongoing vegetation fires in the state of California that have reached 10 acres or greater, they can go to fire.caa.gov for the latest information. Additionally, for tips on how you can prepare yourselves, your families, and of course your homes from the threat of wildfire, please visit readyforwildfire.org. Thank you.